program, there was the title was about nature in the office spaces. This bringing nature into office spaces, what I'm going to share with you is a belief, only my belief, of something that I've been trying to implement on workplace environments. Currently here in London, I work at a design and build company. It's called Pelton Rose, where I design those interiors and try to implement the feng shui and this subject that we are going to talk, that I believe there's some similarities, there are some connection points into it, but it's just different approach to it. And one of the things that the name that is called is Biophilic design. That's a little bit of a weird name about it, a little bit exquisite. But the principle of it, I will explain it a little bit, trying to understand the why. First of all, why biophilic design, why bringing nature into the workplace environment, why improving human health and well-being. Moving forward is, I truly believe that a balanced design, interior design, architecture, urban design, has everyone that is creating something, they have a mission, a gift to improve the quality of life of human beings. To whatever we create, we have that gift to try to transform for the better, for the good, people's lives. They will be interacting with our creations, so we can transform them and do it something different and think in a different way. And this is one of the approaches. I'm just running through some images of thinking differently about the urban areas, and that's why one of the subjects that I'm talking. This is London, a simulation of transforming London a little bit more greener, working on the rooftops. Singapore, that is highly dense. You saw it here, a transformation of the city and the bay. And here in London, one of the biggest office spaces that was basically transforming the old bus factories in Chiswick and transformed it in the massive business center where the nature is in it and is part of it. So I would like to start this challenge you a little bit. And I would ask you to raise your hands if you don't mind, don't be shy, okay? I'll raise mine also. About what will you engage more about this view? Do you like this view? This is a view that inspires you, that excites you. If so, you can raise your hands. Very well. And what about this one? Who's inspired with this one? Huh? So that's a little bit odd. This is a nice view, but this inspires you more. This has nature, this has blue sky, has water, has elements, something that are more than just visual. They are genetic, they are part of you. And this is made by us. It came and was created by us. Has this beauty, but this is more subconscious inside of us. And it's not right or wrong. So one of my beliefs about all of this is that every human being aspires to have a healthier lifestyle, to be successful in life, and to feel truly happy. And with that, and with our responsibility about what we create can influence people's lives. So this is about the why. Why do still people need these approaches? Why do people need feng shui? Why do people need interior design? Why do people need nature? Basically, some of the real facts is that stress, illnesses, related illnesses, they are one of the primary points of illness that are the causes of sicknesses that are pointing for 2020. In our current environment, 90% of human population are concentrated in urban areas, and 90% of those people spend their time indoors, and 60% of the time of our waking hours we spend it at work. So you can start seeing and understanding the impact of living in urban areas, massive concentration of population in those spaces, and in reality, what we see more is buildings, objects created by human beings, and you see less nature into it. So even in terms of well-being and health, 90% of the 74% of companies right now, the biggest companies, are with the studies that and the research that is being done for the latest periods, is they are really focused on the next 3 years of trying to bring people, their staff, to engage more with their programs of health and well-being, because they know that there's a really high connection between well-being, productivity, efficiency, and profit. So they are not just caring about numbers, they are caring about their staff health. So how can we improve people's well-being? How can we improve that staff health? So Feng Shui can help people, individuals, companies to do it, and also this concept of biophilic design that is based and was initially mentioned in 1964 by a biologist, American biologist. And he described and is based on the concept of biophilia. The concept of biophilia basically is love of life, love of nature. And it talks about the idea and the concept in that beginning about the human need of being connected with nature, our interaction with nature, and the way we connect with it, and the way we feel in it. So then biophilic design is, in my concept, in my opinion, is a method. It's a sustainable design method, a framework that, based on this principle of love of nature and the need of human beings to be connected with nature, to try to, through design, to bring and reconnect human beings in the urban areas to nature again. So basically it's bringing the outside in to the spaces. It's bringing all that nature provides in the outside to the inside environment. If we spend 90% of our time there, I think might as well try to have a little bit of nature in it. And what are the fundamental keys is that the studies are showing, and I'll talk to you about some benefits, showing that there is a direct connection between the biophilic design, the relation with nature, and our health and well-being. So there's also something here that we weren't able to explain when I asked you to raise your arms, and that's also about our genetic heritage. Basically, along our human evolution, we spend more time connected with nature than in urban areas since the Homo sapiens and before that. So just recently, we started with the Industrial Revolution 170 odd years ago. We started coming and moving, seeing a movement of people going to the cities, occupying urban areas. So the majority of our time, 90% of our human evolution, was based on a biocentric connection. So what are the benefits that we have been seeing with implementing this concept of biophilic design? So we have been seeing that increases productivity, it stimulates creativity, boosts performance, even reduces sickness, absenteeism, and presenteeism, and in a certain way raises the general physical and mental health of people. So one of the recent studies was in 2015 done by Professor Sir Corey Cooper and Bill Browning in interaction with a company, a carpet manufacturer called Interface. They are developing new ways of introducing on closed environments, built environments like offices, materials that will be sustainable, materials that will help to implement and improve people's quality of life on those workspaces, considering and bringing the nature concept, the biophilic design into it. And with the studies, they noticed that by implementing the biophilic design principles on these office spaces, there was a report of increase of 15% on the general sense of well-being of the employees. there was a raise of 6% on productivity and 15% on creativity. So these are real numbers, they are facts that show that biophilic design is not just a trend, not something nice and some nice lines and putting some plants into it. There's a method behind it, there's some science behind it, there's 30 years of studies and research already and practice into it. So what I've been seeing is, and what maybe you're gonna ask is, so how we implement it? So how can we really use biophilic design in a practice way? So, in biophilic design bases itself in 3 main levels of human experience. What we need to create is put in, human beings interacting with nature, experiencing the physical space, the built environment, through 3 levels. 1, a direct human experience of nature. That is based on trying to have real elements of nature, animals, water, plants, all landscapes, everything that is direct from nature into the space. And there's then the indirect approach, the indirect human experience that basically is mimicking and creating analogues of nature, like textures, smells, sounds, images. So sometimes we can't put a real tree inside of a space, enclosed space, a big tree. So we can have a print of that big tree on the wall. And just that image is, the studies show that people interact and the brain cells start relaxing, our heart rhythm starts going down, blood pressure reduces, and it's amazing just what one image can produce, of nature can produce on human beings. But there's then a 3rd level of human experience, that is basically us, human beings, experiencing the space. The physical space giving us a feeling of retreat, of restoration of energy, of protection. So the way we design the spaces in implementing these principles that I'm going to talk to you about is trying to provide emotions, senses to people. So on that base, the biophilic design then implements itself on 14 patterns. I'm not going to explain the 14, otherwise it's going to be tremendous. So what I did was I summarized it, and I was able to squeeze it to the 7, just not to be so boring. So what I did was just highlighting, and what I'm going to do here is highlighting quickly the 7, and then I'm going to show you practical examples. I think it's much more exciting seeing images of work done, okay? And we can talk about it, and you can see it visually. So one of them is the views to the outside and seeing nature. So it's being able from the inside, from an office environment, that's more my practice, but even on houses, schools, hospitals, being able to see some nature, having a view of a landscape, something like that. This is just a lounge area of, actually this is in Singapore, of an office space that opens up, and suddenly the staff can come here and just take a coffee, do a break, and enjoy this lovely view. So that's one of the principles, having views to real nature. The second one is having a direct connection with nature. That direct connection with nature is exploring the senses. You hear the sound of water, but you see it also. You're in direct contact. It's not just a speaker producing the sound of that water. No, you see it. You can touch it. So you can create a direct approach and have this direct human experience with it. Something like this. This basically is the lobby to an office space, a building, where staff, employees every day that walk into the building, they pass through this area that have the fountain. So after the commute, the crazy being squashed inside of a tube in the bus, they can relax a little bit before they enter into the office space. And their journey will start, they'll start feeling more relaxed, more calm to start a working day. So the importance of these elements start bringing real actions and consequences to us. So another one, the third one, is to improve the access to natural light. The studies show, curiously, that 45% nowadays of office spaces don't have access to natural light. 45%, it's a lot. But fortunately, we still have the other 65 that 55 that consider that natural light is very important. And why? Because natural light has implications on our, correct me if I'm wrong, circadian rhythm. Okay, thank you. Forgive me for my bad English, but basically it's connected. So we have a cycle of sleeping, and we have sleeping patterns. And basically during our waking hours and then the hours that we go to sleep and relax and restore our energy, basically the natural light is not the same. So the sun rises at the intensity and then comes high, peak at 12 o'clock, and starts coming down. And we see that change of light. And that change of light enters in us and feeds our brain cells in different ways. So what happens in the office environment, that doesn't change. We always have a constant intensity of light in an office space environment. So if we spend 90% of our time in a stable, constant, same intensity of light, that has implications in our sleep, has implications in our stress levels and blood pressure, heart rate. So all of that has implications in it. So if you can promote a better spaces where the natural light enters, where we see and we feel that changing of natural light going through the day, or some offices what they are doing right now is simulating on the artificial light those intensities of light. So on the beginning of the day, they simulate one tonality, on one chromatic intensity of light, and then at the end of the day, they simulate the other one. So to try to keep this cycle feeding, so we can then restore ourselves. So the fourth one is then if we can't, sometimes we can't put plants, we can't put trees, we can't bring water. So what can we do to try to still promote this bringing of nature and reconnection of human beings with nature? It's basically creating analogues. So bringing products, materials, textures, colors that will stimulate and relate ourselves with nature. So bringing natural materials. But sometimes doesn't need to be natural materials. Just the color of some materials will be relating to elements of nature. The textures, just feeling the senses. And for instance, this element that you have here, even just visual, in terms of visual and touch, what you can see in this image is basically a simulation. This is carpet flooring. And from a manufacturer that is Interface, that they are developing and are really involved with this process of bringing nature and promoting human health and well-being. And what they are doing, they are biomimicking the patterns that we see on the outside, the patterns and textures of stone, of grass, of the fields. And you can see the gray floor is like pebbly stones there. This simulation of grass, the intensity of the color, all of that implicates in us and has a direct interaction with us. Even when we walk on top of this, we feel the difference of the texture of a hard flooring, a smooth one, and this one in between the grass and the stone, we feel it. And subconsciously, with that our genetic evolution mind, we feel things and we connect with our brain and with ourselves. The fifth one is also the quality of air, the air that we breathe. The quality of it is related with the levels of toxins. This is a little bit more technical, that implicates all the air conditioning systems that normally exist in the office spaces, and that's a real issue because that has been identified, the bad quality of air that we breathe inside of the offices, because sometimes that air is not enough for the amount of people that work in it. So it's not well calculated. So it is important to be aware of that and use engineering, use technology in favor of that, and being aware of the implications of it. Because when we're not having enough fresh air for ourselves, we start feeling sleepy. So we don't have enough oxygen in our lungs, the oxygen doesn't come to our brain, we start to feel tired, our levels of productivity start going down. So the quality of the air is very important. Even the levels of temperature, humidity in the space. that also has implications in it. Even this lady here, she's working inside of a space and she's wearing a coat, a jacket, inside of an office space that she shouldn't need that, but she's wearing it. It's because maybe she has nature, to have plants, she has the contact for that, but the temperature here maybe is not that correct, and the use of certain materials sometimes don't promote that. There's a lot of concrete flooring there, a little bit of plants, but then it's just hard surface. There's nothing there that would warm up the space also. And then there's the two second ones. There is the sixth one, there is a sense of refuge. So the sense where we can retreat ourselves. Sometimes, most of us, and the majority of the now tendencies is working in open plan layouts. So no one has an office, it's just some offices for meetings, and then we all work in open plan. And then sometimes we are a little bit, our colleague that we have been listening for 6 hours on the phone that talks very loudly, and I just wish that he could speak a little bit lower, so I can just, if I have in my office space something that I can retreat myself. Okay, thank you. And it is important to create those spaces on the office space, on office environments, on built environments also, even at schools. It is important for children to be able to retreat themselves. There are different levels of people, two types of people in terms of approach. There are the introverted and the extroverted ones. The extroverted are very social, so they can be in open plan, they can talk and collaborate with everyone. The introverted are very valuable also, but they need their space. They need a little bit of retreat sometimes to be able to focus, produce, and bring their full qualities into the work or into the study. So creating spaces that you can go using furniture, natural elements, as you can see, the wood. Again, the simulation. In these images, you see a blend of things. Sometimes we can't put everything as we wish in real materials, nature materials, environmental, but we can find a balance into it. And it's that balance, the balance of using natural elements, the balance of using man-made elements, that I see the Feng Shui approach also. In all of this, the selection of colors, the balance between yin and yang, the energy that we feel when we feel restored. So there's implications. It's just a different language to it, with less years of study and less years of knowledge, of course, but I see it as a parallel approach. And it can be blended. I blend it on a daily basis. And the seventh one is the sense of prospect. The sense of prospect gives us a sense of security. That is, being able on an enclosed space, on a built environment, to see things around us, to be able to identify things. That gives us safety. Nowadays we don't have the saber-toothed tiger or mammoth or big dinosaurs and things like that we start feeling scared of. We don't have dangerous animals coming into the urban areas, but we need the sense, you still need that sense of security, of seeing what's behind that door. Can we see what's over there? If I need to walk there, there needs to be some light. If there's a corridor, needs to have some way of wayfinding for me to know where I'm going. So this is just an example. Actually, this images is the new Amazon's headquarters. It's a biodome they created. And basically this is the welcoming area for them, for their office space when people get into it. And they have different platforms, different areas of breakout areas inside of a dome full of natural plants. So Amazon is already one of the major companies that are aware of how important is biophilic design. So this is basically transformed. This is in Seattle. So basically the building that you see, that black area, is part of Amazon's headquarters, but then they built this area as the entrance, the welcoming space, and the breakout areas that all the staff can come and restore themselves, visitors. So all related with this sense of, it's not just about productivity. Productivity will be achieved if their staff are happy, healthy, and feeling successful with themselves. An example, right now big companies like Google are promoting a different way of working. They are creating campus. They are creating schools inside a working environment where people interact and learn and work in sort of these environments. This is the future Apple campus in the United States, in San Francisco, in Silicon Valley. So all of that is faced to this massive, almost like looks like a savanna inside of the space. So this is where the new technology companies, the big companies that are focused and aligned and give this importance of how impactful is nature with us human beings and how that impacts on our productivity. So I'm going to just run quickly. How many minutes do I have? 2? I'm going to run 5? Okay. So right now what I'm trying to show you is you saw big interventions, Apple, Amazon, but we can do small things. Even if we can't transform an entire office space, we can promote small spaces inside of a traditional office space. But I'm going to show you some of my works that I've been doing at Felden Rose, that I've been very grateful to participate also, and that we have been seeing amazing results, staff engagement, staff retention, reducing levels of stress, increased levels of productivity, less absenteeism is unbelievable, and it's quite interesting for me being able to say that I've been experiencing it, because for a few years I've been just practicing theoretically these concepts, and now I've been having the practice and the real experience in it, and it's really good when I go again to those spaces and see people interacting with it. It's an honor seeing them working and smiling. So this basically is simulating a tree that you can see all around that was trying to improve the natural light, the light coming in, so those moods of light during the day can reflect inside of the space. And this is a breakout area where people can get out of their desks, go here for a coffee, or even work with their laptops for a while, so they can choose and come to these spaces. Then this is Google. Basically this is an atrium, an inner atrium of the building where Google staff works. We created this, so you can see imprints of woods around. We put some tree trunks there, so that simulate that principle. We've decorated even the column in brown, so that's the use of textures, colors, things that will relate and resemble with nature. We put the boat and paint the floor blue. It's giving some sense of bringing nature to these spaces, and it's massively used. These areas are the tendency of staff is going to these areas to collaborate, to speak, to talk between one another, to share their knowledge, and that's amazing. Because when we are at our desk, we are alone in front of a computer. We're not interacting. We're not talking with one another. This is basically a retreat space, a focus room at Essence Digital, where their staff can go, take their shoes, and just work for a while, do some brainstorm activity, because this wall is writable on this side. They can just step up. So like if you were in the nature, you'll do some trekking, some climbing. So you move your legs, so you move your body. You not just sit down. So you're promoting physical activity at the same time into the space. Even the seats that you can see, they have a simulation of timber, of pieces of timber, and that again resembles of it. And the smell, the ceiling that you see is like it's just LED blue light into it that basically simulates the blue sky. This was a small office of ironmongery company, and this is their client's meeting room. Around the space, all around it, they have the walls full of ironmongery and hinges and all of those things. And then when they open these 4 doors, they take the client to the woods, to the forest, and they promote to the client a different human experience. So the client, when the client leaves, every client that leaves, always remember their office. They'll always say, I went to Allgood and I enter into the woods. And they just can't believe in that. And they have meetings there. So this is Friends of the Earth, a non-governmental, a non-profit company. Basically, you can see some elements using carpet. You have the colors, you have the textures. You have some areas for the retreat that slight concept of tree house on the left, and you have a banquet seating when people sit, and you have the boat where people have some meetings. So this is a highly interactive space, and people use it. The new generations use it. Even this incentives a blend of different generations with the young generations, the Generation Z, Generation Y. They are coming together, and these spaces are the ones that bring them together. And finally, this is TNS. There were 750 people, and they were on 2.5 floors, and they wanted to squeeze it into 2 floors, and they increased even 50 more people into it. And the challenge was make it a livable, humanized, human-centered space to work. So no one owns a desk. Everyone can work wherever they want. And the idea was bringing the outside in, not just nature, but things that people relate to. Your living room, the fireplace area where you have and you relax, there's areas of that in it. And there's a greenhouse here that basically is the breakout area where you go and take a coffee, we warm up your food, but you can sit and work with your laptop. You can have the informal meeting. You can eat over there, but work like that girl is doing in front of natural light, in front of views. The view is not a wood, but it has natural light. It gives something. We are in London. So to close this, this is a passion for me. I really believe that I can improve people's lives and inspire others to feel inspired of doing something that will change people's lives. I believe that Feng Shui, I believe that biophilic design can work together, can interact, and bring their synergies to improve people's health, well-being, and a general sensation of happiness for live, for work, and for learn. Thank you. Thank you very much.